Welcome to the Squad Games Podcast. Squad Games Podcast.
So what have you guys been watching in media lately?
I've been watching more seasons of Rick and Morty since I had Hulu.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know.
You make me fucking throw up even
my favorite
more.
hater, dude. My favorite hater.
Dude, you like MGK and you like
I never listened to MGK.
You're the one that sits there and tells me that MGK won the rap battle between
Oh, yeah,
Eminem
because
and
it
MGK.
gets you going, dude. It's my favorite thing. It's another favorite thing.
What do you like? This guy is sitting here. Oh, okay. What else have you been doing, Giacomo, other than Rick and Burp and Pickles?
Just working. Been doing that. A lot of meal prepping. It's a lot of meal prepping.
Patrons are asking about the first Patreon battle report. Any update on that for those?
Yeah. I'm gonna get some for at the end of the weekend. That should be good. At least one of them should be good.
Cool.
So
how about you, Johnathan?
Let's see. Stuff I've been digesting. I've been playing a lot of Abiotic Factor. That's not really a TV show or anything along those lines, but it's something you can just sit there and have a good time with because I love SCP stuff and survival crafting horror is kind of fun.
Are you speaking another language? What are you doing? What are you talking about?
I'm speaking video game right now.
Okay, it's a video game.
It's a video game, and it's a lot of fun. It's a computer video game, and you basically play as a wimpy scientist that's in the outback that goes to a secret testing facility.
Like Australia outback.
Like Australia. Yeah, it's actually Australia.
Or like the actual like restaurant outback.
They've got restaurants in there. And
okay, I'm just making sure.
The game basically involves like scientists do bad things without thinking. It's set in like 1993.
Ooh.
And they start doing like portal technology and opening portals to other worlds. And then they get attacked by like this insurgency agency that's like trying to stop them. But because of that, the portals go all over the place. So you have creatures coming from all over the world. You also have like portals to different times. But you're playing as a wimpy scientist. You're so wimpy that the only gun you can use is the basic security pistol. But when you find like one of the other guy's guns, it basically says, "You are too weak to use this, you weak sissy guy. You need to grow some muscles." So you have stats and stuff, and until you get those stats high enough, you can't fire the bigger guns. So you have to craft stuff, and you have to survival, and it's got mechanics for all kinds of stuff, and some of it's fun, some of it's really annoying. It's got fishing, it's got food. There's even a poop mechanic. You have to watch how much food you eat. Yes. And
I thought you were about to say you have to watch your poop.
Cheesy.
I was like,
no. I mean, you could if you're weird. The game kind of gives you everything, but it's Half-Life graphics, like original Half-Life graphics. So it's sort of fun. Like if you're one of the others, not the cool engineer dude, but if you're one of the scientists in Half-Life, how would you survive when stuff hits the fan? And it's a lot of fun, and it's got a lot of SCP stuff, which is secure, contain, protect, where you have like lore talking about like monsters and crazy artifacts and things, paranormal stuff. Is a lot of fun. Outside of that, the only two things I'm getting into or been watching has been keeping up with One Piece, the actual anime, because I made a promise to my girlfriend to actually get through that, and that promise has lasted years because it's still growing, and I'm like probably 200 episodes deep.
That's early, I hear.
Or no, maybe 300. I don't know. It's gotten to the point where you realize that it's not an actual happy-go-lucky show, and it's the writer's now adding like, oh my god, this is really, really dark. You're like, wow, dark. Which you don't know until you've watched enough, and then some Freyrin because the season just came out and that stuff's really good. But yeah, so content-wise, that kind of stuff. I've got some stuff I'm looking forward to. There's I don't know if you guys do any Deep Rock Galactic, but they're also making a survival game, and it's coming out soon, and I'm very excited about that.
That seems like an easy jump off point for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then other things that I'm very excited about is the new Squad Ops whole like revamp of the tech system and equipment, because that was an amazing amount of fun.
Thank you. Before we jump into some Squad Ops today, yes, we're going to talk about it. You guys are going to get sick of it by the time we're done with it. Took a long time to make, so hopefully you enjoy. I've consumed some media this past few weeks as well. I've been watching a lot of From. Really enjoy that television show. It was made by the creators of Lost, and I'm too far into it. I've watched all 3 seasons before I found out that it was also made by the creators of Lost, and I was like, all right, well, I'm here and we are doing this. So it's been a very fun ride. And then I just started watching the 2nd season of Invincible. So I got some catching up to do on that.
That one's
took a little bit of a break. Yeah. Waiting for
really
the last season of The Boys to come out. So that is what I've been doing. Outside of, I also started the Etsy shop again. If you guys don't want to buy it from our website, you guys can go to Etsy as well. Our stuff. Currently only have 4 listings on our Etsy, currently. Just because these take a long time to make, So that's been quite fun to do, but it has taken me 2 days to do so. So that is a thing. That and figuring out all of California's tax code system and stuff for small businesses and trying to be legitimate is, it's different. It's different. For those of you that are not in the United States, California's where we live in California is weird. So yeah, it is what it is.
I more power to you getting through that. I know it's a minutia of all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, you just gotta kind of start understanding stuff, and start to. Yeah, it's been interesting, to say the least. And then I have completely destroyed my room as I've been taking more and more videos and pictures of product. Oh. So, and one of the reasons why we don't have the camera on today.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So another big thing that we just finished this past weekend was, and if anyone wants to hear more about Squad Ops and other people's thoughts, I did just record a podcast with Just Another Kill Team podcast. Not sure when they're going to release that episode, but do keep your eyes out. Help support Travis and Jason. They're both awesome. So go ahead and give that a listen. If you're sick of listening to me, I don't know why you're listening to this in the first place. All right. So, the Boyz Bash, man, we should probably, so we were the 3 people who really dressed up, there was no one else there that really dressed up, none that I can remember. Giacomo, is there any that you could remember?
In terms of just what went on?
No, people who dressed up.
Besides us 3, we had people like Melty who just was in complete purple.
Melty wasn't there for the entire event. He showed up late.
Just his face. Yeah, just his face.
Just a floating face.
Yeah, just floating face.
Melty showed up as a floating face at the end of the event.
That was the extent of like anyone wearing anything crazy, but generally people were festive by wearing like nerdy shirts and stuff.
Yeah,
we did have that one bloke as a commissar.
Oh yeah, we did.
Right. Yeah,
we had Elijah.
He's at Umi.
Well, he was actually a war boss.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
I think he turned into Gayrick instead of Yarrick. He turned into Gayrick. Pretty
this
great.
was before the reveal of the new model, by the way.
It explains the midriff.
Oh, yeah. I'll try to be a more. We were not only in costume; we was all in character. When
we was having the voices going on.
We sure did. We sure did. And in fact, it's pretty funny because Jimmy wanted to call me that night, and he said that he couldn't call me because he knew that Dakotah was still there. I kept slipping into accents like that the rest of that night. And to be honest, the entire time that I had the green face paint on, I did not drop character. So like when I went out to tell like who got best overall, who got the golden tickets and stuff, I still hadn't, I did it in character. And then afterwards, when there's just like 5 of us just chilling and sitting and talking shit, and just, chumming it up at the end of the night after we all packed up and stuff, I still didn't drop character. Giacomo went in and washed his face off. So he turned back into Giacomo from Jack Ammo.
Yes.
But then we had Johnathan, who we have on the podcast today, he dressed up as Laser Gets.
That's right.
Yeah. And then my wife put on Instagram, and currently the Instagram post is going quite viral. John, I don't know if you saw it, but she said she tagged you as Lazy Gets. And
it's all fair.
which was quite funny. If no one has seen it yet, you could go see it and you'll just catch the vibe of the whole event. There was a lot of planning and prep that went into the Boyz Bash. In fact, there always is. I don't know why I do these things to myself. Just probably because I like to try and run the best event I can, I guess, if I had to try and answer my own question. Yeah, there was a lot of prep that went into the Boyz Bash. Firstly, we kind of knew, because we've always kind of made the Boyz Bash. The very first Boyz Bash was kind of competitive, but we kind of did some things weird. John, you were also there for that, right? I think Anthony Martin won that one.
Yep. I've been there for all three.
Yeah. Then the second one Jimmy Kelly didn't win the first one because he was at he's won two. He's not the back-to-back-to-back champion, just the back-to-back champion. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought he won all three in a row, but I just reminded myself. So we didn't do a lot of crazy stuff in the very first one. The second one, we did like a lot of, I think we did a bunch of like narrative maps, like from when we were testing out the narrative.
Yep.
I didn't have anything else. It was kind of like the Boyz Bash was going to disappear, and but we brought it back, and I decided to dress up last minute, and we played basically all of our narrative maps for LVO just to test them to see if they were like balanced or okay. So we did that, and that was pretty crazy because we had like 3-story, I called it Luke Skywalker bridges.
Yeah.
It was like a 3-story space Beta Decima bridge. It was insane. And then after I set it up, I was like, I'm not going to set 2 of these up at LVO. It's not going to happen.
That one, it was also a little hard to maneuver. Like, it's really cool to look at, but it can be hard to kind of look around. I always had trouble when I was looking at players playing on that one.
Absolutely. So that was pretty interesting. And then this year I knew I wanted to go like the extra mile and really do extra stuff with the Boyz Bash. And I already told G that I was going to dress up. He told me like 3 or 4 months ago that he was also going to paint his skin green, which tickled me green. And then, I've been slowly developing squad ops, and, kind of got a bunch of people to kind of play test, look at the rules, help me with like wording and stuff like that to see if like try and make it as tight as possible. Right. Basically all still just my ideas. And then also like there were some problems that I had to call Giacomo, and I had to be like, yo, dude, like, what are we going to do for this? And like, I would just shoot ideas at him. There's a couple people I did this with, but Giacomo was the most useful at working through some of the problems, because some people would just give me like really broken ideas. They just won't work, and I'd have to listen and come up with other things. But like, yeah, it was pretty cool. And then to see everyone kind of play it and the event sell out and everyone have a ton of fun, because we had a bunch of crazy maps. John, what maps did you play when you actually were there?
All right, let's see. The first map I did was the ones where it's ups and the downs. It's 2 half boards. That was a lot of fun.
Descent.
Yep. And the second one was an old school symmetrical with the weird deployment into the dark, like old school.
Okay, yeah. So it was one of our very first Into the Dark maps, the diagonal Into the Dark map, which goes really hard on squad ops.
Oh, that was a lot of fun. And then Battle 3 was the one with the doors, Arena.
Oh, Arena. What did you think of Arena? I really like Arena in this edition.
It was actually really different. I mean, I like having, tactile visual representation of the walls. Mm-hmm. But I liked it. It was a lot of fun. And once the doors actually just removed, so you don't have to worry about them, interfering with the models, it was nice. And the fourth battle was an old school burger map from one of the old ones from the last edition. That was really cool.
Yeah, isn't that weird how, like, I actually thought about it, I think the day before. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, what other, because I was writing down every map that we were going to have there. So we had a Beta Decima map, which was the very first Beta Decima we've ever had at a Squad of Games event. And it was, I think, map 24 that went over pretty well in the Squad Ops pack. We had Space Decima, which is one of our narrative maps. A little bit different than Beta Decima because the hazardous zone doesn't also block visibility. Has like two or three towers on it in that really big walkways. It's pretty good. We had 4 arena boards, mostly Pariah Nexus, because I seem to have misplaced all of my actual arena boards. No idea where they are. Then we had only 2 Into the Dark, 2 Volcus that we actually set up on Into the Dark boards, which is actually, I think, the best way to play Volcus. And let me tell you guys why. So you set up Volcus on an Into the Dark board, and you deploy at the 4-inch line, just like you would normal Volcus. And you have the exact same amount of distance between each other, but you have an extra inch in width, right? And then when you play the opposite way, it is the same, but you have a 1 inch less an inch on either side. And you don't start as close to each other, but it is pretty close. It's interesting when you break down Kill Team in different ways, and then you can just kind of set things up and it still works, with variable and variations of terrain and even mats and stuff like that. So like the whole process of Squad Ops was to kind of bring creativity to the game of Kill Team, because I'm kind of sick of seeing, going to certain Discords or Reddit and other things or other YouTubers, and they just always say the same things. It gets old, in my opinion. So I took hot takes to the next level. So John, what did you think, just looking at the Volcus maps, the Volcus into the Volcus maps? It's kind of what I call them.
Those were a lot of fun. I didn't get to play on that one, but it was neat being able to see that. From my perspective, from what I did get to see, having the sheer amount of variety that you put in for different maps made everything feel so fresh. Even outside of the cool stuff you did for the crit ops and everything else, the variety of maps and how well they were balanced was really, really fun. And I was very impressed with how well Arena worked into everything. I was very impressed with how some of those old map deployments worked. And it was really refreshing to have stuff that wasn't just, two big Volcus things. Yeah. So that was great to see. And yes, I definitely want to see that more.
Dude, what's crazy, Giacomo, you set up all of the diagonal boards. Yeah. We had 4 diagonal boards at the event. And I had a specific thought that came into my mind when I looked at it for the first time. When you set them up, what did you think? Because everyone loved them.
My first thought that went into my head was, oh crap, none of these have a place to put objectives. What should I do? So then that was my first issue. Is like, oh, I don't know where to put stuff down. This is going to be bad. And then I had to think like, okay, we need something in the center. Got to have a center. Mm-hmm. And then I need to make 2 objectives pretty easy to get to, but not too valuable, which would be like the non-critical objectives.
Non-critical.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the other ones, somewhat defensive, but a little harder to get to. So that way you have to kind of work and earn it. And sometimes they were just out in the open. And it's since there's 5, and the idea is you're going to have to, at least when I think of squad ops, I think there's a lot of give and take. I'm giving units here to take objectives, and then I'm going to be losing them or something like, and that's kind of what you're doing throughout the whole game. And whenever I play squad ops, right, it's not just I can win harder. It's I know I'm going to lose some models, but this is what I have to do in order to win. Which I generally like in games. So when I was playing that in my head, I was thinking, all right, what gives them give and take without it being too insanely difficult, right? So you could still get non-critical objectives to help you do the crit op, but if you want to earn your tac op, you got to go actually earn it and go do those harder to reach objectives.
Mm-hmm. Dude, when I looked at the diagonal maps, they fucking broke my brain. You know, I looked at them and I was like, how am I a worse kill team player today playing this game for like 2 years, like a year and a half more than what we used to with the diagonal maps? And I feel like a worse player. The fact that diagonal maps are gone from the game is, I think, innately bad for kill team. Now, I know a lot of people complained and bitched and moaned about kill team diagonal maps and stuff like that. I felt like a lot of our diagonal maps were actually more rather balanced than some of the other ones, but I think they were also harder maps to balance, so I understand that. But it's weird how like the community used to bitch and complain about, you know, diagonal maps, and now everyone is like, oh my gosh, another Volcus map. Well, but that's the other thing. To me, people don't hate Volcus. You know, like, dude, by this point, like last time, like Octarius, people hated it. We brought one Octarius board. Thank you, Aiden, for bringing your board. We set it up as a diagonal board, and a lot of people really enjoyed it, right? And like, I don't know, man. It's difficult. Like you guys, I highly suggest anyone who's listening to this to go to the squad-games.net and go to our downloads. Okay. At the bottom of the downloads page is our 2023 Kill Team terrain packet. Find some terrain that kind of works with it. Try to set up a couple, like a diagonal map or two, and try it. Like put out your own objectives. Whatever feels good. You know, try it with a buddy.
I will say one thing about diagonal maps. I think this edition actually catered to them better. In the previous edition, I would run into two things, because diagonal maps would usually start to boil my brain, because you had two things you had to factor in. Movement gets a little weird as to where you're going to go, because you're used to just kind of going in straight lines, and now you have this sort of like odd angular movement of where you don't think you're closer to the enemy on this line, but you actually are, because their direction that they're going is going to be different. Mm-hmm. But you also get locked into, when you're starting off, okay, who's going to go loud and who's not? So this edition not only handles that issue, but since everybody universally gets climbing equipment of some kind, you're not as penalized as you were before, where before, like, if you didn't have climbing, there's just some areas of a diagonal map that you would just get locked out of. But now every team can plop a ladder, can plop those things. So I think it actually works better this edition than it did previously.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. You can use some Into the Dark walls, because we have some Into the Dark walls and pillars, and you can put them up. And then we have our old bastions, which are like 2 inches by 4.5 inches, right? They're like little L shapes with a little piece of vantage. But also there's like a ton of there's way less vantage. So there's less vantage, which means that we can have less heavy, right? There's not a ton less heavy on these particular maps. In fact, I remember actually debuting these maps, and people would complain to me that there was too much heavy, right? When I first made these maps, people told me there was too much heavy. There's more heavy. And I was like, okay, there's a total of 6 more linear inches of heavy terrain in here than there is in Octarius. I was like, it's really not that big a deal. It's really not that different. You know, like it was like, people would say that to me, and I was like, it's, you know, I mean, is it though? And then when you look at Volcus, right, it's so weird, because it was interesting because there's a lot of there were some players who had never played on this terrain before. They came in this edition, right? They weren't like the old heads like John or some of the other people that we've had, and they struggled with the terrain because they weren't used to it. You know what I mean? Like they weren't like aware of how to like run some of these maps and stuff. It was rather interesting, a little bit of a conundrum for some of the players. So, but some of the older players, it was like super refreshing because they've done it before. And the game hasn't actually changed that much from last edition to this edition. It's just, sure, there's a little bit different, but in Squad Ops, we added scoring back to Turning Point 1, so it is very similar. Yeah, I mean, maybe these maps aren't great for 3 objectives. You know, I don't think Diagonal's great for 3 objectives specifically. But I do think 5 objectives is really strong and really good with the game in general, right? I think specifically I have Vulcus fatigue. I'm sure people who are listening to this also have it, and I'm sure other people do not, especially if you're brand new to the podcast or brand new to the Kill Team scene. Do John or G, do either one of you have Vulcus fatigue?
I'm a little I'm a little fatigued with the traditional layout. So, I'm finding myself either using older terrain, or just trying not to play it as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're playing a lot of Flashpoint, and other skirmish games right now, right?
Yeah, but I still play Kill Team because it's also a game I still really like. It's just the terrain is kind of boring. So, I'll go use I will use the old Octarius one that I have. I'll use old ones that we had when you made the MDF stuff. I'll just use the old stuff, and it's a new way to play, right? So I can't rely on heavy as much because there's not as many pieces of heavy. So you expect to all right, if someone's going to shoot me from advantage, just know that that's what I'm trading off when I go to this part. And I like it. It's refreshing again.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. What about you, John?
So I didn't really think I had the Vulcanitis until your tournament, simply because I was like, it was so much funner to be able to go to a map that was so very brand new, even if it was one I probably played on last edition. But since the time span had gone by so far, and since the variables were different than just a Vulcus map that just has a few, like, okay, where are the ruins placed? Where is the big buildings placed? So that change was very refreshing. So while I didn't notice I had it, I can say that feeling was really nice to play on maps that just weren't that. So I guess I do have it subtly, and it was growing. So fortunately, this kind of helped clear that up. But I'll definitely be trying to do more games outside of it. I also think it makes you a better player in general, because then you have to kind of adapt more to what the maps are. I mean, obviously, if you're trying to be, head of the tournament and you're, trying to get to those top tables, you want to play those maps to them to the back of your hand. But for just the fun of the game and for getting up skill on the fly, I think changing up the maps entirely is really good for it and for yourself.
Yeah, something I find interesting is back in 2022 when TTS was a thing, everyone was playing Kill Team on TTS and stuff because of COVID and stuff. People would say they were TTS players, and then you'd play against them and you'd beat them, right? And you're just like, TTS is a joke, right? Because they were all playing on whatever maps, because there was no defined maps back then, right? What's interesting I find now is with Games Workshop putting out these maps, I think that there's good things and bad things for Games Workshop putting out maps and stuff like that. You have people who get locked into this mindset of like, I will only do what Games Workshop tells me to do, right?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Which is unfortunate, because I don't think that, like, personally, that's just like, it's a weird thing to think that's like, it's hard to say. Like, it's weird. I'm not going to put words in any developer's mouth, but if I was a developer and I would say like, hey, I released these 6 maps, I expect everyone to play on these 6 maps all year long. That's weird. I don't think that that's right. I don't think that that's correct either. Right.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really make sense, you know? If I think if it was the case, we would get a lot more maps a lot more often. Right.
Yeah.
But that's just me personally. Right. So like, it's kind of weird. Now here's the other thing. Like you've seen a lot of other players who practice on TTS a lot and play TTS and, you know, practice and grind. They've gotten and they've done way better at events because maps are so much more standardized these days. Back in the day in the Wild Wild West, right? You would look at a packet for an event, you would pick up that terrain, and then you would just play the shit out of it, you know, and to practice for it, to practice for the event, you know, because you're like, this is what's going to be there. I got to practice. We got to do it. And I think that like the kill team knowledge and base was stronger in past editions. Now I think that everyone's reached this top limit. Like I've talked to a couple people on Discord and stuff like that about squad ops and stuff. And some people that say that they still like not scoring on Turning Point 1. And then they would just say all this, like this strategy about Turning Point 1 to me that firstly, I was like, yo, I don't understand anything of what you just said. Like, and I'm like a head TO, you know, like I like understand the game in and out. Right. But like some of this strategy stuff that people are prepping for and doing for on Turning Point 1, some of these top level competitors, right, are just so beyond even like me that it's like I could only imagine what it's like for somebody just starting to play this game. You know what I mean? And it's just like, dude, Crown City Games only has one Volcus set, right? Like Geeky Tees plays on basically nothing but Beta Decima, you know, unless if people bring their own terrain. Same thing with like people like our game stores. People have to bring their terrain, you know, like it's just so like we should normalize playing other stuff. And that's kind of like what the Boyz Bash was supposed to be, you know?
I get that. It's definitely, though, I think GW encourages people to buy terrain. So therefore people will kind of get like tunnel visioned into that because they only own this one set of terrain.
It would be really cool if they could create some suggestions on mixing and matching, you know, like some of the Beta Decima terrain's really cool, but it's kind of, it's just it's usually this is the one big thing in a gantry, you know,
yeah,
if you could add, yeah, exactly. But if you could, you know, Beta Volcus it somehow where, you know, you've got some
Beta Volcus is
out,
sick, bro. I'm telling you right now,
that would be cool.
Now, like, so when I was making my maps for Beta Decima, right? I'm sorry, everyone, if you don't like Beta Decima.
It's definitely better this edition, but
yeah. I don't like Beta Decima very much either, right? But like, I love Into the Dark, right? I think Into the Dark is the best terrain set. So I threw a bunch of Into the Dark, you know, walls on Beta Decima, and it works really well. And you know what else works really, really well, especially on maps that have the 6-inch sides, is throwing Volcus on. You can throw a Volcus Stronghold, the small 6-inch by 8-inch one, on 1 inch on one side that has the 6-inch deployment, right? And you just break it up entirely. And you could put a objective in the front of it, or on the front and the back. And then on the other side, you can block off both long edges by putting the large ruins, because they're 6 inches long. Wow. Amazing. And one of them has a door on it. So you put one long way, you put one short way with the door so people can go assault the door on one side. And then you have both of those long, you know, killing edges just completely blocked off. Or you could do what Nect does and buy the other set of terrain and add in, like, there's just like so many things that we can do, even to Volcus. Put Volcus on Into the Dark maps, you know, like what's stopping you, you know, like, because you haven't thought of it, or because other people aren't doing it, or like, it's not weird.
Well, that would be cool if, like, inside the Volca's stronghold, it's Volca's rules, so you can climb up and down, but outside it's into the dark hallways to get there.
Yes.
You know? So
Mhm.
that would be neat. For Beta Decimate, it would also be cool if you put the Volca structure on the center and you split it up so you have your opponent has deployments on the far edges, and then you get to be on the inside of the stronghold. And, kind of have that assaulting the fort kind of feel for Kill Team, which
Absolutely.
Way back in the day, they used to have, like, what was it? Archeo spirits or Consulta spirits and some of the other weird, interesting, like, things that you could never really take for crit ups for a tournament, but you'd have deployment zones that were all over the place. It was never just one side of the board or the other. Some of them were, like, in the middle, over here, over there. And that was interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what's weird is, like, I thought I had Kill Team fatigue. I did.
Oh no!
I thought I did, but I don't, because I was just like, I'm just sick of the way the game is kind of played, right? And that's kind of why Squad Ops, like I developed it for a while, and then I kind of put it to the side, and then I worked really hard on it, until release. But, like, I mean, it's just a different way to play, right? And the goal is to show people, like, we don't have to just do what we're told. We can rebel a little bit.
Agreed.
You definitely had that going on at the tournament. That was a ton of fun.
What did you think? So another cool thing at the event was so I built a really large barricade, a life-size light barricade. And I built 2 brand new props, 2 bolters and stuff. What did you think of those, John? And do you think that we also played The Boys Are Back in Town? That was like, I think we did that all in the morning. We had, like, a big old speaker out there.
It made for picture opportunities everywhere. I mean, it was wonderful. Some of the gamers, they brought their families with them, so their kids were like, "Oh, can I see that? Can I take a picture?" I remember one of them, because I was in costume and you were talking with someone, and you had the gun prop, so you set it down. And the kid's like, "Hey, can I get a picture with you?" So I'm like, "Okay, yeah." And I look over and I go, "Oh," and I steal your gun from you. I'm like, "All right, here, you take this. Here you go. Don't tell anyone I stole it." The kid's like, okay. And he pretends to shoot me in the picture for his mom. And then, like, afterwards, he's like, because I go to leave him and he realizes he has to sneak it back to your table so you don't think he stole it. It was hilarious. And I see him just kind of put it back. It was great. So having the props, making it more fun, because, I mean, having a tournament that's, like, cutthroat and stuff, there's a scene for that, but having one that's just generally there for a good time and to have some fun, premium.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing, is, like, we're going to have our standard competitive events, right? Obviously. But I think it's also fun to make sure that your people in your scene, have their creativity fed and are having fun in other ways as well, right? Because, I've had some people reach out to me recently and they're just like, "Hey, our scene isn't doing as well." Right? Like, and I don't know why. And I was like, "Well, how much are you focusing on competitive?" Right? Because this is a game, right?
Yeah.
Like, we can only cater to the competitive crowd so much, right?
Well, just to put it out there, I also like, so you have folks who, there's, like, 2 sort of spectrums on it. I mean, you do have the casual thing, your kitchen table, but there's, like, the competitive scene, and then the other far end, you have the narrative scene. And narrative is a lot of fun, but yours was, like, essentially narrative light, like the Diet Coke of narrative, where each of the missions that you had picked fell in line. They were all very orky. It was a lot of fun, but you weren't, like, tied down to feeling like you had to have a narrative. You weren't tied down to all of that. The only thing you were tied down to is don't take anything seriously, because you're shooting barrels and you're having a good time, like that. And I loved that. Like, it wasn't like, sometimes, you have narrative and it's great fun, but you do get tied to, okay, this is going to be narrative. We got to focus on this, get that. And this one is like, oh, right. No, look, I'm just going to run, and I didn't shoot the barrel, so I'm going to go hit it with my knife. okay, I lost my git, but I blew up the barrel. That was fun. So like it was just great to have it. So it's just, a fun, focused, non-serious event. And obviously, you're trying to do as best you can, but dice are going to be dice and barrels will explode, or you for whatever reason can't seem to destroy your opponent's like terrain, and it was great.
It was pretty funny because we convinced a bunch of people essentially to play a narrative event disguised as a competitive event.
Exactly.
And none of them realized it.
And I loved it. I thought it was great. It was really great.
But it was 100% like narrative. Like there was no real narrative running through any of the games other than me and Giacomo were orc war bosses.
Yeah, you had a very good theme. I mean, like we went from, I've got it on my crumpled sheet that had my thing. You had barrel blast, you had destroy enemy emplacements, you had orbs, which was great. And then the final one was cold shots, and they had such an orky vibe to all of them. It was a lot of fun. And starting out with barrel blasts, for anyone who don't know, barrel blasts, all of the objective markers in this one, you have 5 for squad ops. You could even do barrel blast for 3, whatever. But you actually have physical barrels that you put down, and the object is to shoot them each turn, and they blow up, and they have an amount of hit points. And surprisingly enough, sometimes they don't blow up. I started the game. I had a clear shot on my opponent's barrels, and my little orc sniper guy with his concealed position and everything is all right. Boom, 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 boom. The barrel survived with 2 measly hit points. So my opponent was like, "Well, I'm Death Watch. I can survive the barrel blast." So he just ran up there and just tapped. Boom. Like, well, I made it easier for him. I don't know what to do about that. And then because it was double maps, and it was rough for him because he was, that's the map where you have like an above ground section and a below ground section. Below ground is like Into the Dark rules. Above ground is Volcus or whatever the map might be. But he had to split his 5 operatives there, and he put 3 on the bottom and 2 up top. But his poor little guy, I forget which, it's the Death Watch operative that doesn't have an amazing melee weapon. He ran up to the barrel. It was only able to stab it once. So this poor Death Watch guy was like really happy that none of the other Death Watch officers could see him like have to stab his barrel several times for it to blow up. But he had the hit points and the healing to take it. I was like, I'm going to blow up, so I did. But it was so much fun, and having actual physical objectives that the physicality meant something, because I had to see if I could see it, added a lot more to the game, and it was such a great way to start off an orky game.
And what's interesting about barrel blasts is that we did have like a question come up, like what if you shoot a barrel and you have a blast weapon? Do you get like this giant blast? And I was like, no, just select one of the 20 millimeter barrels, right? And just have your blast go from that, right? So if you have a blast 2 like rocket launcher, have it go from there. There's definitely some interesting things that came up, and some different balance things that we'll probably talk about here shortly. Do you guys want to go over any of the other things that you really enjoyed before we go into like talking a little bit more about the squad ops and kind of like how you felt about the balance and other stuff?
Just like event wise, I like the energy in the room, how many people were there, people coming up and just taking a look at it. Like either they've played 40K or they've always, they're just there to buy something, but now they're seeing how big this thing is. That was really enjoyable.
It was absolutely enjoyable. I saw a lot of new faces. That was great. I also loved, because it was an orc event, you had a lot more folks playing orc teams or something.
Well, I also bribed them to do so.
Well, it worked. What was also hilarious is, so for those who don't know, you have the ensemble of the Kel team. And Kel team, they're an amazing group. They're fancy and purple. That is their wardrobe. And so through most of the event, it was just, you would hear, "Oh my God, it's a floating head talking to me," or something else, because they had purple capes with them. Yeah. And it was great seeing like folks jump in. And then at the end, when you were doing the awards and stuff, and you were like, you would say, "Right." And everybody was going, "Oh, right. The orkiness was just jumping in, and everybody, all of the players were having a great time, like being an orc for a little while. So that was awesome to see.
Yeah, whenever I would say right, everyone else would say right. And that's like when I would get into orc character, I'd be like, right. You know, that would like help me get into character. And then like, I was constantly reminded about how much I would say right because everyone would just repeat right.
Yeah, you start to find I gotta stop saying patterns that way. God. Yeah, you're like, oh, I really do say it a lot.
Yeah, so out of the 42 players that we had 13 Rekka crew and we had 2 commandos, and then we also had like a murder wing or 2 murder wing players showed up with converted rocket boys as them. We had Jimmy Kelly with his goremongers as orcs, you know, orcmongers, I think he calls them. There's a lot of really good conversions out there and stuff, and everyone got this like cool special gauge, and
there was also some
dude.
Really
I love
cool
the gauge
display boards. Oh, the gauge was so much fun. I'll be taking that everywhere.
For those who don't know what the gauge looked like, it had like the black and white checkered. It was very orky in text. It was either green or red, and depending on how you got it, had gold.
The green ones were bigger, and the red ones were faster. So they were the same. They were the same length. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the fast description, and it's true. That's accurate 100%.
That's the fastest one right there. It was good times.
Great times.
Yeah, so some interesting things about the balance. Like I spoke to some of the higher level competitive players. The kill op seems to be relatively balanced for most kill teams. Maybe not the kill teams that have 8 or 9 models, right? It's more difficult for, like, let's say, to score a large kill op score versus goremongers. Goremongers can kill elites rather easily. Goremongers can also double kill. So they do seem quite strong in the squad ops format because of the way kill op is done. But they do have less bodies, so they might not be able to hold objectives as much. We'll have to see how things play out. But also, like, when you look at things from a competitive standpoint and stuff like that, you know, when you look at that, it's like, how much of it is just the Jimmy Kelly problem? Where, for those of you that don't know who Jimmy Kelly is a he's a player from the United States, and he's a very good kill team player. He's been playing this game for a very long time. He started in 2018 kill team. And so he's been through all types of kill team. He won ITC last year, 2 years ago. His son, I think, like took second or third, or his son did really well last year in ITC, and Jimmy was also up there. He's gone to the World Championships multiple times for the past, I think, 2 or 3 years. Yeah, so he won the event. He got first place and he got best overall because of his paint job on his miniatures and his competitive score. So he did really well. And then we also had Sebastian. Sebastian.
I'll correct you there. He wasn't first place. He was the one get to rule them all.
Yes.
And then Sebastian got the other.
No, it's Simone. It's Simone. Simone. Yes,
Simone.
It's fed misinformation. But yeah, so that I love the naming convention.
Yeah, and Simone played Felgor Ravagers. And what's interesting about Felgor Ravagers is that they kind of break the kill op as well in another way. I mean, Felgor should just be removed from the game. They're just awful for, I think, kill team in general. They break a lot of things. But Felgor, essentially, like, they can kind of push forward. You kill 2 of them. They frenzy. You get your 2 points on kill op. And then they can just like, then they're just like, okay, you want to frenzy more of my guys because I'm going to run at you. And it's like, well, now I have to try and frenzy more of your guys. And then they're still there for the next turn, right? Which kind of sucks. But if you kind of like change the way that I did the kill op in any sort of way, kind of makes it a little worse. But we did find the 2 teams that kind of break the kill op the most, I think.
There will always be those outliers.
Yeah, so I might still adjust the kill op, and I have a couple other ideas to try and make it a little bit different.
For folks who don't know, do you want to explain the difference in your kill op?
Yeah, so my kill op, you guys can also find this packet on squad-games.net. but I'll read it out here. So additional rules for Kill Op 2.0 is during the select operative step, each player reveals a leader operative. That operative must have the leader keyword. If your kill team has no leader keyword, your leader is the operative with the highest wounds characteristics, your choice if tied. Victory points. At the end of each turning point, score victory points for enemy operatives incapacitated during that turning point. Score 1 VP for each enemy operative incapacitated, or score 2 VP if that enemy operative has a wound stat of 12 or more. Each player can score a maximum of 2 VP from the kill op in each turning point from 1 through 3. For turning point 4, you can score a maximum of 3 VP from the kill op. And then we have assassination. At the end of the battle, if the enemy leader is incapacitated, you score 1 victory point. Technically, you can score up to 10 if you do every single thing, and you have enough enemies to kill and yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. But it's also not likely that you'll get kills on turning point 1. People still play it, pretty safe. John, what were you, because you told me some things and I'm like, well, maybe the kill op isn't, broken. What was your experience?
So here's my experience, and it's kind of interesting. Pardon me while I cough off mic. I really enjoyed it because one of the games I had gotten a huge chunk of my team wiped out, but it only afforded my opponent 2 victory points, which meant I still had a chance to outscore. Mm-hmm. So there's sort of like an interesting catch-up mechanic on that. And then the other thing is although, ideally if you can wipe out your opponent, you're going to do a lot better. But I found I kind of needed to pull back on shots that I thought I could get, because I wanted to make sure I had a target for the next turn to get that score up. So it made it feel much more calculated on okay, well, I could risk my guy now to wipe out that guy. It's actually better for me to do it the next turning point, because then it'll actually be valuable to me. And which having to actually
pretty much the intent.
Yes. Yeah, which is great. So having to actually think through, is it actually the right time to kill a model? Having that extra thought process was really nice. And then having the backup of, when you are you misdeployed something, or you left somebody out open and they get wiped out, you don't have your opponent suddenly having a huge upswing in points. You're like, oh, well, I screwed up enough that any more screw ups I do this turn aren't really going to hurt me anymore. So, okay, it's not that bad. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed that a lot. I actually really, really did. I liked it a lot more than the normal kill up as a result of that.
Yeah. There's a lot of, I feel like the current kill op is just like a mechanic, right? That we just live with, right? This feels much more like deliberate, and that there's strategy, and that's kind of the reason, or at least that's the thought process I put into it. Giacomo, you've played a lot of games. Did you hear any kind of feedback from the event? I just heard everyone fucking loved Barrel Blast, and I was like, all right, can you guys give me any kind of critical feedback? There's Barrel Blast is great. Yeah. And I was like, all right. Did you hear anything, G?
Yes. Well, first off, I just want to say it is always hard to get feedback properly when it's face to face. It's another thing anonymously. So maybe you guys can send it to us anonymously, what you think. But as far as hearing feedback in general, since I did a lot of testing with missions, I got feedback for how missions should be placed, which I think were pretty valid. Some of them were weirder, in place, destroy emplacements, had to be, you have to kind of have them a little more forward so your opponents can go get them. You can't just hide them. But from the players themselves, it mostly was just the 5 objectives. It's different. And so I guess they were maybe unused to it, so they didn't like it as much. But I think that's anything. I'm sure people disliked it when it was 3 objectives coming from 6. So I don't think there was anything really that I picked up on that I thought was worth mentioning.
Yeah, the majority of things that I heard was that people really liked the 5 objectives, but people definitely weren't used to it, right? This is definitely people that used to play the game were like, wow, this is really good. Newer players are like, this is very different, but not necessarily in a bad way. Yeah. Sorry,
there's also a lot of
uh-huh.
we're still found. There was a lot of newness because you had, for a lot of folks, completely brand new map layouts and terrain. You had brand new crit, you had brand new kill ups. You also had a large selection of equipment that I saw some people not take and some people like just dive in on. So, there's Threes to Wounds. Shout out to Threes to Wounds. That equipment is great. Orky boys love it. It didn't always proc, but when it did, it wounded. It was great. So yeah, there was a lot of cool newness to things.
Yeah.
That can be overwhelming for folks to like try to figure out what it is that they like, because there's, like, which new thing did you like the most?
Yeah, it was interesting with like some of like the competitive, like it's hard because there's some players that are going to love it no matter what. Right. And that's like, those are the people I made this for. Right. And then it's like fine tuning it so that everyone else will still like it as well. Right.
Yeah. That they can join in.
Yeah. So I like talked to Alex, and I know Alex like hates narrative. Like he does not Alex Popov does not play narrative, right? Shout out to Alex Popov, right?
You did trick him this time.
Yeah. And it's just like a majority of like extra rules and other things that make it more difficult for players and having to learn different things. So his combat for that was like, I know how the new kill op works. I'm just going to focus on that. And for Rekka's, he had a good time. And yeah, he also didn't get a large notice that he was going to be able to make it, but it's interesting because I got like different feedback from different people, and none of it was necessarily bad either. I think destroy enemy emplacements probably had the most amount of critical feedback, just because it feels like a win harder mission for players that are better at the game than others, and that's not necessarily the intent of the mission. So if any go away, it'll probably be destroy enemy emplacements, or destroy enemy emplacements will probably have to get reworked and redefined and remade into something else. Because I like the creative direction that it went, that it is going and stuff, but I do think that it does kind of help out experienced players or people that are good at the game kind of dominate the people that are not as good at the game.
Yeah. I agree, because it has, like, the idea with it is you get a whole bunch of extra equipment pieces that you put on the board, and then your opponent scores points by destroying those things with a mission action.
Yes.
But the catch is if you're experienced enough, you can game it and place them in areas that are just not fun for your opponent to go to. And that goes against, obviously, the entire spirit of the game. And it is very hard to sort of balance that. Like, I know for then there was the one game I lost, but that was against it's against a proper team, you recruits, and I was too brutal and not enough cunning on that one. But both of us could easily place a piece of equipment very close to our starting zone, and it would just be next to near impossible for us. And you came over, and you're like, "Yeah, don't do that." And we're like, "Yeah, we weren't going to do that anyway because we're here to have fun." But that is sort of the catch on some of these, trying to balance it so you don't have that one person who's like with Cheeto fingers, twirling their mustache. Ha ha! I've got you because I have all of these things behind the wall on my side.
Yeah, my hope is that hopefully someone at Games Workshop sees destroy enemy emplacements and kind of sees the way to balance it and the way to make it better. And maybe one day this will come out somewhat similar in a Games Workshop fashion. That's like my hope and dream, because here's the thing. The reason why player placed terrain sucked in 40K was because it benefited players who are better than you, right? It's the same thing in why player placed terrain doesn't work in Kill Team. It's the same, like, oh, I just play Pathfinders. I'm going to put everything against my line and make this 8-inch gap here, and I'm going to shoot whoever gets close. Right? It's the same kind of thing. And this is basically player placed objectives. But it does fill a creative niche that we've never seen done in Kill Team, right? Maybe for a reason. Maybe it just doesn't work,
I'm sure there's a way to make it work, and I mean that's one of those ones you kind of put it back on the pot on the back burner to stew, because it was fun and the whole idea of it made sense. Like, narratively speaking, like you get the idea that you guys are in the trenches, and that's something that some of the kill team stuff loses, is like you guys are there to perform an objective from the higher ups or whatever it is. So the tactile idea, just like that's why barrels are so great, because like, oh, there's orders from above to destroy the barrels. That makes sense. Same thing here. Oh, there's orders from above, destroy the enemy emplacements, and it's not just a token you're interacting with, but you can see the idea of your guys going there with little, wire cutters or whatever they're doing to destroy it, because it creates a tactical advantage for the bigger war, whatever the bigger thing is.
Yeah, it also could be interesting just to have it as like a mission rule for that specific mission and have like different things come up. You know what I mean? Like like a different kind of like way to score victory points, but you're forced to take all of these extra things that people can kind of blow up, and you kind of get the same thing, but without like the player place objectives, like I think it's going to be, it definitely needs some more time to stew. I think I think it was a success based off that people had fun, but I do think that there was problems with it from an objective standpoint. So, yeah. I can't nail, 9 crit ops at a time.
What do you mean?
Even Games Workshop kind of has like energy cells or something like that,
right?
Like,
something that's not perfect.
or sabotage, or what was the other one from 2024 that was awful? Extraction.
Yeah, extraction. Find the president. You're like, you search this pile. The pile doesn't have the body. You search that. It doesn't. The final one always has the body. You're like, what? Okay. Yeah,
and that was like a weird gambling mission. It just is what it is.
You just run up and remove your opponent's ability to search their pile.
Yeah,
and you would know it'd be yours. You're like, okay, come and get it.
Yeah, it was interesting. I really thought that the event really did really well, and I thought it did like it was like I had a blast. Like at the end of the event, I told Giacomo, I was like, why do we run competitive events? This was so much better than just like this entire event was just intensely better than just a normal competitive event. I don't think that it's like better than Las Vegas. Like the satisfaction that I have after the All Valley or the, LVO is like, I would say I have more satisfaction. But this event, I was like, wow, this was like, this tickled my stomach pretty good. Is that what you say? Like, what do you say? Like
tickled my fancy.
Tickled my pink, tickled my fancy. My
tickled
pink?
Your fancy.
Okay, tickled my fancy.
Be careful with the pink one. That a little suggestive. You could say it tickled my green. It's orky. That's fine.
Tickled my green. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure the audience will correct me. There's some niche meaning from some, dank Reddit post, but in this polite company among orcs, it's fine.
Exactly.
And I would love to see another one of these events. Like if you could have 2 of these kind of events, in addition to your narrative thing, which is awesome. It is nice to have these sort of refreshing, fun, devil may care kind of sporting events. Yeah,
I think that it was interesting. I know, right? Well, I do have something to talk to you guys about. I think I might have told Giacomo it, but I'll tell Giacomo if I stray too far from it, you'll have to remind me. John, I think you'll probably be excited. Maybe I've told John too. Maybe I've told you both.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. I think that it's interesting because we kind of went over, oh gosh, who did we talk to about this? We talked to somebody about this it was on our hot takes episode. And somebody was like, oh, I wish like there would be I was talking to Marty. Marty was like, oh, I wish there was a card system. I wish there was this. I wish there was this. And we all were kind of talking about the hot takes and we're like, oh, well, Kill Team's already had this. Like this was in Blood and Zeal, or this happened and this happened. And no one cared because Kill Team was so new. Everyone wanted to keep playing competitive. But I think with the overpowered teams and kind of like this stale elite meta, and like we haven't had any kind of flavor come out for quite some time. It's just been like a Marine after Marine type team. Gotten kind of old, and Tomb World, while awesome, is just into the dark. So we haven't gotten any kind of new freshness. So like I think that some of this kind of like funness is actually new to the scene that people want to have. Maybe people don't know they want to have it yet.
I think I see what you're going. Like, yeah, some of that was definitely injected too soon to try to create like something new. And this would be the right time to do it, because this would be the time when everyone's used to the formats, how to play the game, or more importantly, also how to teach other people the game.
Correct.
And that's a great way to show like the whole thing that you got with the Orky Boys and the Hobbits. You had exploding wall sections and how to create all that. That would be great to start adding in.
Yeah.
And so hopefully whatever they bring out next has some of that come back.
Yeah, we can hope. We can hope.
See, I can see them doing that, but the one thing I think will always turn it off is the lack of content creation for such a thing. Look at any of the Kill Team content creators out there, or at least a majority of them that is competitive based. Almost all.
They're all competitive. Oh no, you have
almost all, not all of them, but a majority are.
There's I don't want to leave them out. They've been on the show before, right? And they've invited me on the show. Once Upon a Kill Team podcast. All right, they're very narrative based, but yes. everyone else. I mean. To an extent, that's the. You have Vox Cascadia, but half the time they don't even talk about Kill Team. So like, there are some content creators out there that, and you have Kill Team Casuals, right? But even Kill Team Casuals got pretty competitive for a little while, But I don't disagree with you, G. The majority of content creators do focus on the competitive.
Well, right. And also you might have had you might have also had like GW have a bad taste in their mouth because folks didn't receive that stuff as well, even though that's more of like a higher up CEO looking at it as opposed to thinking of it critically, where like, oh yeah, it makes sense that they didn't want it now because it's something that should have been pushed later.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to say something, G?
I was just saying, since it's not really focused on with creators and people are watching their creators, their favorite creators, it's just going to kind of get lost.
Yeah.
Like it was released and like I kind of forgot Blood and Zeal did the card system.
Me too.
Dude, I never even looked at it, bro.
Yeah, there you go. See, like that's what I mean. No one's talking about it. It's whatever. It happens in 40K too. There's not that many. It's not as much narrative as you'd think. With how big that is, at least it's not as known, right? The first ones you're going to know is the competitive stuff.
But is that really Games Workshop's job?
It's not, but the content creators and influencers that they give products to will affect the way people will look at things, right?
Yes.
Let's look at anyone else.
The buzz.
Yeah, exactly. They're the ones who are pushing the buzz, the narrative. It's what's going to be on the zeitgeist of people. They're going to be thinking about that the whole time. Like, oh yeah, they said this is a really good build, so I'm going to play it like this. Right.
I mean, to a point. I mean, I agree, but also like the boxes sell out before any of the content creators even put up the first video,
but they want it for the teams, not to play the style, right? And no content creators like, hey, we tried the Blood and Zeal card system. This is actually things that they could do to put into
because it wouldn't sell on YouTube. No one wants to watch those videos. No one wants to talk about those things. Like even Squad Ops, we only have like 3,500 views on it, right?
Well, yeah, of course, because you're right, it's not as popular. But we're not adding to its popularity by not talking about it, right? We're definitely not doing any favors.
100%.
So it still falls apart. Like if any amount of them were to just do something and not just worry about the views all the time, like, but which again is a thing you don't really do because. When you're doing YouTube and stuff, you need views. That's like literally your lifeblood. But if they didn't care about that, then they could. And, it might inspire like even just 10% of people to do it. And that's more than you'd expect.
So like my question is this, G, should this like should like narrative and like this fun stuff, I believe that the community should be taking this over 110%.
No matter what,
Community is made by its influencers.
But it would be nice to have some more assistance. But I mean, GW has created some stuff. Like I know that like the last thing they didn't have like a campaign pack or something like that.
Yeah, it had some like weird hexagonal like campaign thing. Like, oh, you can fight through this campaign and use these sheets but they've used that system so often and so many times. It's not new. It's just like this old campaign system. And it's whatever, but like, how does that add to the game? You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that we're missing, right? We don't have, we don't always get the things that add, like people love Descent. That's a great thing that's a great thing.
It's
really
fun.
Yeah. And it's also fun on top of that, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where you're going. Like whatever it is, it does need to be fun and easy enough to incorporate, so you can kind of have that narrative light experience, because it is kind of more of a narrative board,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because you've got that up and down, but it's not so focused that you have to have a stat sheet and a character sheet and roll for hit points and stuff.
Like John, imagine if Games Workshop came out with a narrative ops pack similar to Squad Ops. What if they did that? And that would open up the door to all these other content creators to also do things like that, right? I'm not saying that is the correct way to do it, right?
Right.
But I am saying like there has to be like, but the thing is, like, does Games Workshop even need to? Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm going.
They definitely don't, because the models themselves will sell it, right? It's more of if your community, if you yourself are worried about a community that's stale, just as a player, what are you doing to try to incorporate some different things? Like when this had happened in the beginning, I started doing 2v2s with locals just because it's like, that's different. It's something you guys are not used to. And I started using like pillars and other weird pieces for Into the Dark, just because this is not something you ever see, because we're so used to just pulling out the PDF and setting up a board. And that makes it different. Was it always good? No. There was times it was really bad. But are you trying something? And still to this day, we'll try something like another one. You use teleporters in the Descent, right? That's interesting. That's something that's like unique.
Well, fun. I realized I was like, I'm going to do Descent. This is going to be awesome. But I was like, I've never read the Descent rules.
Right, which is its own thing, but you still made it work using teleporters, which is an interesting one.
I understood the concept that they're going for, right?
Yeah, like you're just going into different styles of the game, which is fine. But those little innovations, like things like that, are important, right? To you as players individually within your own circles. If you're stale, if you're feeling stale.
So what we did was we put like 2 teleporters on an Into the Dark map and 1 on Volcus. And then if you got on a teleporter, you could go to any of them. Right. Pretty fun and interesting. You could do it with 4 teleporters too. Nothing's stopping you, or 5, Yeah,
literally nothing.
Yeah. The one that the teleporter sequence you had in mind was really interesting, because the above ground map had the larger Volcus ruin structure, the fort structure. So you had it up on the vantage up top. So which was great, because like if you did port from down below up top, you're immediately in you can threaten, and you're not just like still having to move far or whatever. You can threaten, you can get to the center objective. That was great. And in that game, that was kind of fun, because I ended up moving my squig up on one of the teleporters. So if they came into that room, it would swap places and sort of like, chicken balance. It was really funny. But yeah, that was really cool. Very, very enjoyable way to have it.
Yeah, it's
and I'm saying also having the teleporter not just on the ground, but up on vantage. So you'd have to work to get to it. But
and then you're also safe if you wanted to be up there.
Exactly.
Like you could teleport from conceal and be on there, and then move to the thing on the next turn, or your opponent could get on his teleporter and then swap places with you instead, like some crazy shenanigans of orc type behavior that obviously leads to fun, right?
Zug zug.
Zug zug indeed. Yeah, it's like, I think Descent is actually a really fun game design map, and I think that Games Workshop knocked it out of the park with that. I think it's pretty cool. Something else that I'm going to be doing, I talk about this on Just Another Kill Team podcast too, but I'm going to be creating something called a Rapid Kill Team, or Rapid Blitz, or Blitz Kill Team. Sorry, Blitz Kill Team. It's kind of like a timed format where you take half of your kill team. I have a specific way to how to cut your team in half, and then you play on a Descent board where you only play half of a kill team, or half of a board, 3 objectives, and then essentially what you do for this format is that me and Giacomo were talking about it. It's like each player has 5 minutes to deploy their team and explain their operatives. And then the opponent has 5 minutes to explain their operatives that they chose and put their team down. And then they're on a clock. And then essentially you have 30 minutes each to complete a kill team game. And you have either between 3 and 8 models, right? It's 30 minutes per person. So it's an hour game. So it's an hour, and it's a 70-minute round timer, and you have a timer, and you're just playing similar to chess. But then the reason why I'm making this is because I'm making a doubles format where you kind of do the same thing, except you take 2 of these blitz kill teams and you put them together, right? And then you have one team, and then your opponent also has. Your 2 opponents also have a blitz kill team that they also put together. And essentially you get 2 pieces of equipment per person, right? And then you share the same amount of what are they called? Command points, right? Very simple in thought, and it should work beautifully on one game mat. And the very first time I ever played this, I played with one of the content creators when we were learning about how to play this edition. And we played together versus NPOs, and that's always been stuck in my heart that that's the way that doubles should be played. The reason why I'm making this whole thing in the first place for our podcast listeners and Patreon listeners is, for those of you that have not heard this, me and Saya are both going to be having a baby in July.
Woo! Congratulations.
Thank you. And instead of inviting all these people that might want to help with like baby stuff, because we got rid of all of our baby stuff before, like 2 years ago, before I decided I was going to have another one. We have to have a baby shower, and I don't want to invite all of these people to my house. So we're going to be doing something called Baby Blitz. And Baby Blitz is essentially a kill team tournament where instead of paying an entry fee, you bring something from our baby registry. You could bring some diapers or anything, you just come and help support us. And we play like between 4 and 5 Blitz games. So it's only like 5 hours long, we get like 2 rounds in before lunch. And then everyone comes and plays, and you just play normal approved ops, or you can play squad ops with 3 objectives, pretty. I thought, like, I'm making this out of necessity, but also, like, everyone's been asking me about a doubles format, and this kind of leads directly into the doubles format, which you're just taking half your team, which should take half the time or less, I think. But I am starting to work on that now.
That sounds amazing. Sounds really, really fun.
I like the Blitz formats.
Yeah. It is nice to have a quick game every now and again.
That was kind of the idea, is like, what if you go to your game store and you only have like an hour before they close? Let's play a Blitz kill team game real quick. Cool. And then they sit down and then they play it, right? That's kind of the idea. And anything with a clock is innately a little bit more competitive. But that's kind of fun. Like if I'm going to go to a game store, I was telling this to Giacomo, if I was going to go to a game store and play, I would rather play like 3 or 4 people while I'm at the game store than just play like 1 3-hour game and burn myself out. You know? Like, I don't know if anyone else is like that. Maybe I'm more social than others. But that's kind of how I would like to play, you know? At least, yeah, if I'm going to go to an event, sure, I love the longer formats, right? But that's kind of the way that I think about it. How about you, G? Are you excited about Blitz?
Yeah, I've always liked faster formats in general, just because it's completely different. Like you think just because we use the same rule sets, like very similar rule sets, but everything changes when the stress of the clock is on. So I love any kind of Blitz format. Like fast things are really important, right? It gets you. I think you become better as a player when you can really like just know your stuff, you know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it also like it has a way to kind of cut down on decision paralysis, because you realize if you don't do the thing, you're making it worse. So you may as well just go for, okay, that seems like the best option currently. Move.
And if you make a mistake, it's just like,
meh.
Okay, well, the next game is I can play another one in 20 minutes. You know, this one's already almost over.
Exactly. Easy peasy.
Yeah. It's kind of the thought process. We'll have to see if people like it or adopt it or something like that. It's kind of based off a little bit of what the Vegas guys do, but changing it up just a tad.
Oh, cool.
You know, I heard somebody gave me was like, hey, you should just do this. And I was like, actually, what if I did this? That's like my favorite thing. Like somebody hits me up and is like, what if you do this? And I'm like, nah, what if I did this? You know? And then I just thought, I like literally stop listening to them for like 30 seconds as I'm developing it in my mind. That's how some of these things happened, right?
It gives you that sort of light bulb moment, and then you see something else in the room that person's not even talking about.
Absolutely.
but it like, you know, it was the Genesis points. You're like, oh, thank you for telling me that. Now I can make this other thing that has some of what you just said, but is also
like I kind of talked to Sean from up north about a lot of squad ops on the way back home from Vegas, because I knew I had to get it over with, and I was like, hey, I'm going to do this doubles event, and I'm going to have to work on like finish the squad op stuff. And he pinged a bunch of ideas at me. Some of them worked, and some of them that exact thing would happen. I was like, oh, light bulb of somewhere else in the room, you know? And then I'd say it to him, and he was like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And then like I'm driving through the desert at like 1 a.m. and then I would like, there'd be no, like the phone would go out for like 30 minutes. So then I was just in the car, just ruminating on a bunch of more thoughts and, you know, stuff like that. So it's an interesting, my brain is interesting, I think, you know. I don't know if anyone else does that. It happens to me for D&D too. Like sometimes, during a D&D session, if you're the DM and you sit down and like the players are just running rampant with all of these ideas, you put a thing at them and they're just sitting there just like, oh, what if this guy's the bad guy? Oh, I don't know, but what if this guy? I don't think you're dumb. Why would he be the bad guy? This guy's the bad guy because he's a vampire. You know what I mean? And vampires eat people, you know, and they just like keep saying all this stuff. And then you just take little bits and snips of like, you're like, I have no idea what's going to happen. These are great ideas, you know, at the end of the night, you know, and you're reeling them in, helping prep next session, you know, like John, I know that you're a big D&D player.
Oh yeah.
Has that ever happened to you?
Oh yeah. I mean, you get amazing suggestions from the group. You just kind of write it down and they're like, oh yeah, no, you were right all along. That fish merchant really was the necromancer's son. Yep.
Yep. Good job. I don't know how you figured that out.
It's so deep. Glad my world building, you know, we were able to figure that out because that would have been hidden.
Mm-hmm. And then sometimes it's like you keep putting the same clue in front of people.
Oh, yeah.
And then they just like never see it. And you're just like, dude, wow, what are we doing here, guys? We've been working on this problem for like 3 months and we play twice a week. how do you not know who the bad guy is?
You're like, why do we keep hearing jingle bells? Why is that in every town? I don't know. Maybe you should open the door that has jingle bells. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a common song, right? So it's just what the locals do. Oh my God. Yeah.
One of the other big things, like kind of like developing game design, because I've done a lot of this game design for D&D. I've just never done it for Kill Team. And like, Giacomo, do you remember like last edition? At the end of last edition, I had some really good ideas about how to fix the game with like loot and control and all those other things. And do you remember that?
I don't actually. It's been a while. Give me the refreshers.
So I had a couple ideas on how to fix the game when it was like loot, secure, and control were essentially the three big tac ops. And I had some ideas about control, and it's like, well, if you were this big guy, you'd only count as one, and yada, yada, yada. Or like Felgor would only count as one for control. Like essentially, like if you couldn't do mission actions, you didn't count for control. If it took 2 mission actions to do one mission, if it took 2 APL to do one mission action, you would only count as one APL on something, you know? It was a way to kind of help balance things. And I was like, that technically could have been the very first squad ops. You know what I mean? But I just didn't pull the trigger because I was too much of a pussy, you know? You know, and I was like, I would just say it. And I was like really confident that this is how we could fix kind of like the competitive like system at the end of the last edition. But, you know, I just didn't do anything. And then this time I was like, I have these same ideas. Let's just do something, you know? And it's not that I'm trying to fix competitive. I'm just trying to offer something else, you know, like it's still the core function of the game. And we can see that with the Boyz Bash with Jimmy Kelly, who won, and Simone, probably 2 of the best players there, right? Obviously there's a lot of good players there, but those 2 are really good. They also performed amazingly well at PSO, right?
They're going to Barcelona.
They sure are going to Barcelona. And you know, it's like, it doesn't surprise me. Like, let's say if like a brand new person would have won squad ops, you know, like this particular event, and would have got the golden ticket or just would have won first place in general, right? That would have been more like, oh, I guess if you do change the scoring structure in Kill Team, the game is fundamentally different. But all we did was change how certain things are scored, and then some of the best people still won the event, right?
Yeah.
Like Jeshua almost took 4th place, but he lost to his friend Azzy at the end. Like he took scouts, so like, you know, like he's already on the struggle. He was already struggling. And then like Ezekiel had 3rd at the event and took home first place because the 2 best overalls were actually 1st and 2nd. So then we passed everything down the line, you know? Really, really interesting when you look at it from an organizer's perspective and like a game design perspective, because it's like, hey, even though I changed how everyone scores the game, the best players still kind of won. I mean, Melty almost took the whole thing. Jimmy was telling me how good Melty has gotten.
Oh, Melty,
you know, and how strong
really
he's
good.
gotten as a player, you know?
Oh yeah, easily. He's always come from a competitive background, so
yeah.
he understands games pretty well.
Mm-hmm. And Melty almost won the whole thing too. So like, it's really interesting. I mean, I guess it's not interesting that Kill Team is still Kill Team, no matter if you change how things are scored or not. If you're good at the base of the game, you're good at the game.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. That does take a bit of work to get there, but that is,
it does.
You need with anything, as long as you get the fundamentals down, then you can really build to something greater, easier.
And that's what TTS really helps with as well, you know?
That is true.
TTS. Yeah.
I mean, it definitely helps on like exactitudes of measurement and distance. You know where things are, but it does run into, in the real world, sometimes things move and shift and those measurements don't work, but you do need to be able to be good at spotting and having an understanding of what 6 inches or 8 inches means across the field of a board.
Yeah, there's a couple times where people would come up and be like, well, this is the right measurement on TTS. I was like, well, this isn't TTS.
Yeah, it's real life.
Yeah, when you look at Games Workshop's packet, literally says like, our maps are not exact. Don't treat them as such. That's the competitive packet, right? They're competitive. It's on the Warhammer community website, whatever that's called, though.
Yeah.
Approved ops for competitive. And that's where they say like, oh, this should be classified. This shouldn't. Like, it's literally the first like 3 paragraphs. G, you had a lot. We set up the night before. You had you came off of work, a long day of work, and came and set up with me. And then you stayed afterwards and you got there early the next day. And you came over to my house early so that Saya could paint you green.
That's right.
Yeah, there's a lot that kind of went into this. Did you have anything that was like particularly like your favorite part?
I really liked the face painting. It was just a lot of fun. Yeah, that part was a lot of fun.
It smelled pretty good too.
Yeah, it had a very interesting
well.
smell of the paint. No, it definitely took some time to come off. But it did come off eventually. No, yeah, I really liked the face painting. That was really fun. The energy everybody had when you were just like talking in orcs, just around people. They're getting the feel for it. They're feeling a little more comfortable, which is always good. I enjoy that stuff. I like when people get into it.
Oh yeah, people definitely got into it. That was awesome.
John, when you rolled up in your car and I saw you wearing some sort of green, I didn't know what happened. I was like, all right, he's definitely coming in costume. He's wearing like some kind of green suit. And then you came out fucking glorious.
Yeah, I saw it. It's one of those like, I know they have an exact name, but they're ones for runners and stuff. And so you'd have a suit on that just is like one color or whatever. But this one was orked out and it made your whole throat into a mouth. And it was a lot of fun. And so I was like, all right, we're going to do this proper. I decided to put pants on and stuff because the costume makes it look like you have a loincloth. And I'm really glad I went that way because obviously they were little kids. But I was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. So, I had the vest, I had the pants on. But yeah, that was a ton of fun. And yeah, I'm glad of how well that went over. And also just like the whole vibe, that was easily one of the funnest tournaments I've been to in a long time.
Yeah, it definitely rates in one of probably my top 5 or 6 for actually ever like running myself, definitely the best Boyz Bash.
Oh, easy.
Yeah. Gee, where does it rank for you? Where is it up there? Is it up there at all?
In like the top ones I've enjoyed the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's taking some of the AVTT spots down. It helps when there's like because I really like the first narrative we did, the one here in locally. I really like that one because that also kind of had the same energy where everyone was just like playing how they wanted to play their characters, going in, taking pictures with some of the props that we had. That was a really fun one. I liked our birthday one from last year.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a good one with the pizza and everything. That was a good one. Yeah, I would say this was probably my 4th favorite. Probably my 4th. It's pretty close.
Nice.
Yeah, it's another one of those big, like really enjoyable, like look what's going on. Everyone's coming in and having a good time with it.
Yeah, I felt like, we as a squad games has failed multiple times, right? In order to kind of get to these kinds of points and stuff, right? Like, even if other people don't think that like some things are failures, I look at some things as failures, right? Like, the very first LVO we did, huge back end, kind of like explosion between 2 players that really, really upset me,
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I still look upon that event fondly, but it's kind of like it's difficult because I mean, I think it's easy because we kind of have this like platform that we can talk to people about and tell people what we're going to do. It's easier to communicate. And I think it's kind of difficult to communicate some of those things when you're trying to run an event. Like if you're trying to do something like this, and then communicate those to those people. Because I mean, we're still, even though we have a podcast, we have a YouTube channel, we're still relatively small in terms of YouTube and, the whole Warhammer scene in itself. Right. It's kind of an interesting thing to think about. Like, how do you guys, if there was somebody listening to this that wanted to do something similar to the Boyz Bash or have fun, now it's taken us 4 years to get to this point, right? How would you guys kind of go or tell people to like push this towards their own community? Like John, like what kind of got you to want to go to the Boyz Bash in the first place?
It's always a fun event. Like the second one I went to was a lot of fun. You guys were dressed up. And once I found out you guys were dressing up and you were going to have this theme, and then I started to hear about the squad op stuff. I think those two things kind of sold me. Like it wasn't going to be a sweaty tournament. I didn't have to worry about it being because sometimes you'll have like 4 rounds and it can be exhausting, especially if you're there and your main intention is you're trying to win or trying to do better than you did last time. But this one's like, a beer and pizzas kind of thing where it's like, oh, you just try to be the best Dakotah you can, Yeah. And that kind of sold me, and I'm so glad I was able to go.
I'm so glad you were too. What about you, G? Like, is there anything that you find especially interesting? Because this is like probably one of the most interesting events that we do outside of the All Valley Team Tournament.
It's the breaking of the mold of like how you traditionally play the game.
Yeah.
That's usually the most fun when it comes to any kind of tournament that you've been playing the system for a while, but when there's a refreshing twist or at least, enough differences to try it out, I think that makes those more fun. And I usually enjoy those more. There's different questions that pop up that we didn't think of too. That keeps me on my toes.
Yeah. I will say for anyone that wants to try to do this thing, definitely keep it narrative light, like have a theme, make that theme something that's very welcoming and fun, and then that'll kind of get your players to jump in. Like if you make it too narrative focused, some folks don't have the time to read everything or to stick to it, because usually narrative outside of some things usually takes several events, which is great. But if you're having one that's just kind of fun, like you could be like, all right, this is the Commissar's Bash, and have someone dressed up like a commissar that's kind of, yelling at everybody in a fun way, or whatever it may be. The
commissars are always sketchy, by the way.
Exactly. So
you got to be careful when you dress up as a commissar. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, no. Well, I mean, obviously, pay attention to your group. Don't go out there looking like someone that's going to like have need police intervention, but have fun.
And also see if it's right for your scene. If you guys are interested in doing something like this.
I mean, if you've got a whole bunch of Eldari players, and whatever, you could just be like, all right, this is going to be the laughing ones. Kill Team Bonanza, and then you set up your boards. Someone has a jester's mask, and maybe you spin on something occasionally, but something like that where it's just obviously you're going there to have fun, and the tournament's going to be a fun sort of gathering, and you find the theme that fits that and helps you do that is what you need.
Yeah. So some interesting things that we do at some of these weird. I think that you have to like. It's almost like D&D where you have to have a gimmick. You're making a bad guy.
Yes.
You're right. I'm not going to say the way that people say the bad guys these days. It annoys me. So like you're making a bad guy. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. So you're making a bad guy for your event. You're making your event something special, right? You got to do something weird, make your event memorable, right? So for our birthday last year, we wrap up presents and then everyone gets a raffle ticket when they get in. It's a sweepstakes. When right when they get there, in between each round, we pull out one of those tickets. Whoever's ticket that is gets a present that we wrapped, and it's usually something from the store or something of good value or something else, and that's kind of like where we give a lot of our prizing out, is just in between every single round, because it's our birthday. So we're doing something for our birthday. The Boyz Bash, we all dress up like orcs. We do orky things. I never break character. I was a dude playing a dude disguised as an orc, right? Comes out once out of 365 days a year, If I did it anymore, my wife would probably kill me. AVTT is also great because it's a big team event, and we kind of push team camaraderie, and it's based off of Karate Kid, with Cobra Kai, and that's because we're in the Valley, we're in California,
Yeah.
And that's grown immensely in popularity because we also have a huge painting thing that runs alongside it, So you have to find kind of what you think your scene would like, and then gimmick that. Like John was saying, put on a mask and do something, and as the organizer, you have to have no shame. The second you have shame is the second that your players win. You just got to full commit, full send, full send.
Yep. Wear the green face, have the guns behind the thing, it's all legit. Don't ever feel embarrassed by it.
And also the thing is if you do it once a year, every time you do it, you can get better at it. Right. So the first time we ran the All Valley, we weren't that great at it. The first time we ran the Boyz Bash, I think it was just basically a normal competitive event with a little bit of weird terrain. The second year we did it, I dressed up as an orc, and everyone was like, what the hell? And then they're like, wow, it's kind of cool that you never broke character. And then this year, Giacomo did it, and, Melty dressed up, and we also had, John dress up, and the next year we might have even more. Who knows? I guess we'll have to see. But it's kind of this long progression of doing something and just getting better at it, right? Just having the commit to the bit, commit to the bit. So, yeah. Yeah, and then I fucking built squad ops for this goddamn event.
That was extra credit.
That was amazing extra credit, and it worked so well. Those crit ops were great. Barrel blast, orbs, a lot of fun.
Yeah, orbs is pretty fun. A lot of people. So it was interesting is some of the new players didn't like orbs because it specifically targets you can't score the game, and better players can kind of push. But I think orbs requires reps, because just like orb itself, you have to know, okay, am I just going to go to your back objectives and just outbody you, or do I need to fight for the center, for the center objective? It's very interesting. John, outside of Threes to Wound, did you find yourself using any other squad ops equipment?
Yeah, I definitely used the Quartermaster Special.
Nice. That's a good one.
That was really good. I didn't have need for any of the other ones just because I'm playing orcs, and so I needed some of the orky stuff. But those two, Threes to Wound and Quartermaster Specials, were perfect. I think I took Threes to Wound every game, and then Quartermaster Special, I didn't need to take it in the Into the Dark because I didn't need a ladder. So, and I also that Into the Dark was the one that had destroying your opponent's equipment. So you start the game on that one with razor wire and heavy barricade and all the other stuff. Anyway,
that's fair. Giacomo, how about you when you play squad ops?
I'm always a fan of the weirder ones. We were going to have loot and stuff, and that's all fine. But the things like called shots is fun. Orbs is really fun. Destroying placements is really fun. Barrel blast is fun.
How about a favorite equipment?
A favorite equipment though? Surprisingly, I don't use the equipments very much. Yeah. It's just because my opponents and I, when we usually play, they don't always want to. So then we don't, because usually I'm in agreeing, all right, we're both agreeing to use these, then we'll do it. And so far, I have not had the chance to play more of them. If I had to pick one, though, I like quartermasters just because of what you can take. It gives you a lot of different options because there's times where I don't think I always need just 2 of this. I'd rather have a bigger amount of selections. That's a pretty fun one. If I had to pick one.
For me, it's the color crawler void mine.
That thing is amazing. It's a wall of text, but it's amazing.
Yeah, you put a mine out, and then just like a normal mine, and then during this as a strategic gambit, you can move that mine. But when you move the mine, it moves in a scatter die, so it just moves. And it could kill a model. I mean, it does D3+3, so it doesn't have enough damage to actually kill anything of value, really. But it is pretty enjoyable, pretty cool. And then when you set it back up, it could explode. So, like if it's next to a model, pretty fun, pretty exciting.
That's cool.
That's probably my favorite. But yeah, I think it's definitely been fun. And I actually started writing Blitz, I think, yesterday. So we'll kind of see how that goes. And then I'll probably have to have people test it and stuff. So if people are interested in testing Blitz and stuff like that, giving me a little bit of feedback, you make sure you let me know in Squad Games, our Discord, where you can find us pretty easily,
Yes, please join the Discord. It's there.
Yeah, we're local in there, and also
share.
Don't forget to go out and check out Just Another Kill Team podcast. I do talk quite a lot about them. I also talk shit about somebody who played the Denver Broncos Recca crew at the Squad Ops games. Like he brings the Denver Broncos. Like he's a Patreon, so I can talk shit. Like he brings the Denver Broncos to my event. This guy, the only thing that he could have done worse was bring the Kansas City Chiefs. Like if he would have done that, I might have just made him roll all ones for the entire event. Like I'm not gonna lie.
He might have lost character. His anger would have rose up, and he might have had a heart attack.
Yeah, I would have started calling him Patrick Mahomes, but I would have literally butchered his name because it would have made me feel better as a person because I'm a Raiders fan and my team sucks. But that's okay. I also like watching my team lose just as much as I like watching them win. It's quite entertaining because whenever the Raiders lose, they lose in the most Raider way possible, right? Like, sorry for the tangent, everyone, but the Raiders this year, they just sucked because they had an awful quarterback because they made awful decisions, and you're just like, all right, well, yeah, could have saw this coming, oh, we're not going to give the ball. Okay, I'm not throwing on. No one's here for a football take. And of course, the Denver Broncos go almost to the Super Bowl. These fucking guys. My gosh, a little bit of jealousy, but I love it. It's just it's a fun little jabs. Did you guys have any favorite teams that showed up? And then we can start to wrap this bad boy up.
Yeah, XP26s. I love when I get to see those guys.
Hell yeah. Yeah, there was Jake Quinn won Best Painted. He had an amazing the
camo. The digital camo was really cool.
Mm-hmm. A very cool digital camo that he did.
Yeah, I had all of my games were really good. The play-by-play was my first game was Death Watch, and that's the one where I tried shooting barrels and I just found out I couldn't. Crute game was amazing. I didn't realize how brutal they could be, and I played too brutal. Yeah, dude. They
keep buffing the team's damage.
I didn't realize that the little token gave Seek Light in an area effect. I thought it was a token on an operative, so I wasn't paying attention to it. So the next thing I know, the door opens and here comes this guy with a shredder. Well, what do you mean it's AP2? It's armor piercing 2, and it has torrent. Oh, well, they're dead. Dice roll. Yeah, they're dead. So that was amazing. That was a team I lost. Next game was Rekka's. Rekka's was a ton of fun because we were on Arena, and that was Orbs. And we basically just let the orbs constantly stack up on
In the middle?
center objective. Oh yeah. And we were just fighting in the middle, oh my God, it was amazing. So her squib is out in the open turn 1. So I'm like, okay, I got to get rid of this thing. I run. So I had played because in the game, like you're in these tiny rooms. They're catty corner from each other on each corner of the thing. So my bust a wall Kool-Aid man busts a wall and gets to the center and he's hiding. Okay, great. Well, my opponent set it up so that the squig is sort of in the middle, but kind of hiding, but obviously loud, as it's going to be. So I'm like, okay, well, I can get this because not only will I get the squib, but it's 1 inch away from another operative. So I send out one of my boys, Turning Point 1, loud and proud. He's right next to my demolition guy who just busted the hole to go out there, and he throws the orc dynamite. And he doesn't do any damage to the squig. So it does damage to the operative behind it. Next turn, her squig comes running around because she goes first, blows up both of them, and then doesn't die. It was the MVP of the, like, I had to go through so many operatives to kill this little guy. It was amazing. So we had a ton of fun with that. Meanwhile, because we're so busy fighting and orking it up, like the orbs are just stacking and stacking on the objective. It was great. And then the last game I had was very tactical because I was up against Sanctifiers. And so it was like a constant. It's so interesting playing them because you have to play them as a much more defensive team, and that's how my opponent did it. And Brandon, I think it was, did an amazing job. It was at any one point I didn't know whether or not he'd be able to turn the tide because I had to bring the threat to him, and they can just move, and they got flamers and all this kind of stuff. And we had these huge fencing matches where I'm throwing dice. His guy who can attack twice throws dice, and it was brutal. It was just an amazing, amazing match. So, I can't say which one was the best because they were all a lot of fun.
Amazing.
Yeah. That was my experience at the event. It was great.
And John, you also took third best painted, right? You had a really fun painted team, a really cool display,
Thank you. Yeah, I got that last minute. I was like, okay, it was a team I had painted up before, and I was like, okay, I'm going to touch this up. And I didn't cheat, but I had found a pack of acrylic markers at Ross for a super discount. And I was like, hey, let's do this. So I'm starting to do like, the neon pinks and chrome kind of aesthetic. And I cranked that up to 11 and like, all right, this will be fun. Laser gets, and it worked. I was very impressed.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, G, do you have anything else for us?
I have some shout outs.
All right.
Yeah, you can join the conversation by joining the Discord. Help us out by giving us a rating, whether you're listening to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this. Check out our videos that we have on the Squad Games Entertainment YouTube channel. Join the Patreon. We got more things coming up for you guys there. And, feel free to ask us questions if you're on the Discord. We're pretty active on there, pretty good about responding. And we have a lot of community members who are also pretty good at responding. And next tournament coming up, that's in April. That's April, I don't want to say 11th. I think I'm getting that wrong. Is that right? Let's see. I want to make sure so that people can know where to catch us live in case you want to see us there and, meet us, play at the tournaments we talk so much about. That'll be Pacific Skirmish. That's April 11th. That's going to be out in Garden Grove, California. So if you're out there in the scene, feel free to jump in on that. You can get your tickets now. It's going to be fun. I'm already seeing pre-orders go through. So, get them while they're hot, get them before they run out. Highly recommended.
Yep.
Yeah. That's my shout outs.
Amazing. How about you, John? Anything?
Yeah. Shout out Alex Popov.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta check that box. No, we already did earlier, but gotta get that into the end. And then, shout out to everybody at the tournament. You guys were great. So thank you for coming by. It was a wonderful experience. It was great seeing some folks I hadn't seen in a long time. So yeah. All of you fellow tournament goers, shout out to you guys.
Yeah.
And you guys too. Both you Giacomo and say you guys you ran an amazing event. So thank you. It was great.
Thank you. Yeah. I want to shout out everyone who made it to the end of this podcast. Hopefully the things I said has resonated with you. Maybe it's made you think a little bit, maybe you think I'm dead wrong. That's completely fine. We're here to, stoke the conversation. And if you guys want to join more of the conversation, maybe jump into the hot takes this week. I think it's the 23rd of March. So that'll be our next hot takes episode. Come and say what's up to us over there. And thanks for making it to the end. It's because of you guys that we keep doing this. And, I appreciate everyone who's listening, and appreciate John for jumping on, and Giacomo forever and always, So
thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Squad Ops forever.
Hell yeah. Squad Ops 2027,
Hell yeah.
or whenever the next one. I'll probably do some sort of update to this one as well, because once we start getting more feedback, I'm sure that I'm sure I'll have to fix something.
Yeah, I'm sure there's fixes that we're
like
not,
I do have to fix Rattlings. Rattlings having their Ogryns give 2 VP is a problem. So if anyone's listening, Rattlings Ogryns should only be giving out 1 VP because they have an 11 model team. So that's already a little bit of a glitch in the plan, but hey, it is what it is.
I always thought it was funny. I mean, obviously Rattlings have a leader, but they didn't have a leader set. That would mean that one of the
the Ogryns,
Ogryns would be a leader. All right, boy, we're gonna go this way.
All right, you little ones, we're walking through. Give me that sausage right there. Yeah, I'm the boss today.
I'm just gonna throw you over. We don't need to wait for transport. Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, fellas. Well, I appreciate you, and I will hit you guys later.
Take it easy, guys.
Take it easy.
The Squad Games Podcast is a production of Squad Games Entertainment. For more information on Squad Games, please visit our website at squadgames.net or check out our YouTube channel at Squad Games Entertainment.